So Sidney Powell last week accepted a plea deal with prosecutors in Georgia. That quickly has set off what has become a now predictable response from Donald Trump, the former president, trying to claim that Sidney Powell was never really his attorney at all. In the statement that he put out on social media, Donald Trump says that Sidney Powell, who may now testify against him in the election subversion case, said this was not my attorney and never was. But everything that logic and reality offer up signals that he wanted her to be, and she was. On November 14th, 2020, Trump publicly boasted that he had added Powell to his legal team, along with Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, and others. A few days later, she spoke at a press conference peddling conspiracies about how the election was stolen from Trump and coordinated with, among others, as you'll remember, the Venezuelan government. It was only after that mess that Rudy Giuliani released a statement claiming that Powell was practicing law on her own. So she also did go on to file frivolous lawsuits challenging the election across the country, all of which we know failed. Still, in December of 2020, Powell was invited to the now infamous White House meeting where Donald Trump considered naming her as a special counsel to look for voter fraud. So add this to the growing file of Donald Trump distancing himself from the people he was closest with once the heat gets too hot. John.
All right, with us now, CNN senior legal analyst Elie Honig. Elie, I have a small question and a big question. First, just the small question on what Kate was talking about right there. How important is it whether Sidney Powell was ever officially a lawyer for Donald Trump in terms of the case against Donald Trump?
It doesn't matter at all legally. From Donald Trump's perspective, it actually might help him if she's not his attorney, right? So it doesn't matter whether they were formally lawyer and client or not. What matters is she's a witness. Right. She's in the room. She has eyes and ears. She saw what she saw. She heard what she heard at that December meeting and others. In fact, if anything, if she's not his attorney, prosecutors don't have to worry about the privilege issue, attorney-client privilege. So if I'm a prosecutor, I'm saying, fine, she's not your attorney. She's still a witness.
Thanks, Donald Trump, for clearing that up so we can not go through the, jump through the hoops of getting to the crime fraud privilege there. All right. Bigger picture. How threatening of a witness is Sidney Powell to Donald Trump?
Any way you slice this, it's bad news for Donald Trump that Sidney Powell has flipped, that Kenneth Chesebro has flipped. There's now 2 more witnesses for the prosecution, insiders to varying extents. It's what the prosecution wants. It's how prosecution builds cases. But the big question to me that's going to really make the difference here is, are they fully in as cooperators? Is Sidney Powell, we know she's going to say, well, we accessed this information in Coffee County, but is she going to say, this was all a big fraud, I was in on it with him?
Would you make a plea agreement with witnesses like them if they weren't agreeing to be fully in?
So would I make a plea deal, a very lenient plea deal with a witness who was helpful? Absolutely. I've done it many times. But the second part of your question is a really important point. If they're not fully in, absolutely not. As a prosecutor, the federal way to do this, and remember, we're now talking about Georgia state prosecutors. Right. We'll have to see what DOJ does. The federal way is you can only cooperate if you give up everything, if you admit all the crimes you were involved in. The question I have here is, let's remember, Fani Willis charged Sidney Powell with RICO, but didn't make her plead to RICO. She let her plead to these low-level misdemeanors. So is she all the way in? That we have to watch for.
You got to listen to his podcast and read his books if you haven't, because he talks about how tough he is when he cuts plea deals. Yes, he'll do it, but you really have to come clean with everything. And Elie Honig's word there. I want to ask you about Anthony Pratt, who's this odd Australian cardboard king billionaire who was a member of Mar-a-Lago. There's this new reporting in the New York Times. First of all, it's extensive about how hard Pratt worked to get access to Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, which is interesting in of itself. You talk about pay for access. I mean, it really does seem like this guy reportedly was doing that. But he also talked, allegedly, about conversations that Trump had with him about talks that Trump had with world leaders when he was president. How does that fit into, I imagine it would be the classified documents case against Trump. How does that fit, and does this make Pratt an interesting witness?
Yeah, so outside of the legal world, it's interesting and worrisome from a national security point of view. But there's the question of how will Jack Smith use this? We know he has some of the statements from this Pratt individual. The way I would use it as a prosecutor is it shows knowledge. It shows intent and motive. It shows, why is Donald Trump interested in taking these classified documents? What's his purpose? I would argue he loves having this stuff. He deploys it after he's president, however is helpful for him personally, building personal relationships, perhaps building business relationships, all of it illegal and improper. So it sort of explains the why of this all. Why would he have taken the classified documents, I argue, it's part of the broader pattern, and this fits. By the way, cardboard is very valuable. There are organized criminal rings that steal mass quantities of cardboard and then resell it. So there's something to it.
Was that before the era of Amazon.com or after?
Good question. Right as Amazon rose. Yeah. So that's how he became a billionaire.
Thank you, Ellie.
All right.